Good evening to all. We try to discuss the approaches to the study of the political sociology. In the last class, we have discussed about the three approaches of the political sociology in detail. Last class, we completed the two approaches. One is the behavioral approach. Second is the systems approach, and third is the third one is the input-output analysis. In the last class, we discussed about the behavior approach and systems approach. In this class, we try to discuss about the input-output approach. The approaches to the political sociology. Last class, we discussed about this. The study of the political sociology can be undertaken. The methods following are the leading approaches to the political sociology. In the last class, we discussed about the behavioral approach, systems analysis, and input and output analysis. And the behavioral approach we have discussed, behavioral approach, an approach is based on the stemming from behavior. Behaviorist or the behavioristic approach implies an approach from the standpoint of the behaviorism, philosophy, or the view of the ism of the behavior. So in the last class, we discussed the meaning and scope of the behavioral approach, and we discussed about the limitations of the behavioral approach. Now, and later we discussed about the systems analysis, and we are discussed about the factors are responsible for the growth of the systems analysis approach we are discussed in the last class. And in this class, we try to discuss about the input-output analysis. In the last class, we discussed about the merits and demerits of the behavioral approach and the systems approach. Now, in this class, we try to discuss about the input and output analysis. Input and output analysis is very, very important theory in your approaches to the study of the input-output analysis. And input-output analysis, this theory represents a very useful and efficient way of understanding of the various systems of production, including the political system. Professor Vasily Leontief brought to the input-output theory came to the political science or the political sociology from the field of economics. Originally, this input-output theory belongs to the economics theory. This is applied to the political science and the political sociology. The input-output theory simply implied that there is a certain relationship between what is put in a system of production and when what comes out of the system of the production. That means we simply stated we are sending the inputs to the system, we are finding the output. What is the output we are getting after the process of this system? Various systems which require various input, and these inputs themselves may have various proportions or percentages among them. As regards the output, we may say similarly that there can be more than one output that may also be in different proportions or relations. In a given system, therefore, an input as well as the output can be single complex in character. David Easton has been the great deal for the promoting the theory of the systems analysis. Gabriel Allman and Powell also deal with the input-output theory. In view of these writers, the input and output political system can be uh, of the two main types. The leaders in the political system can play a role of crucial importance as regards the working of this relationship between the input and output. When the Communist Party leaders ask for the distribution of land among the landless, they, they are helping political system to Communist Party wants to the implementation of the land reforms. The leaders of the Communist Party ask for the distribution of the land among the landless. They are helping the political system to generate an output. Their demand is we are treated as the communist wants the distribution of the land or the implementation of the land reforms. That is the one kind of demand. That demand is given to the government, and there is a output is if the government is implemented the land reforms, we treated as the output. Here, the leaders in the political system can play a very important role of the crucial importance as regards the working of the relationship between the input and output. And the same way, when the leaders, like the leaders of the association of the state government employees, ask for the overtime allowance or revised pay scales of their DA, also they are demanded. If the government is offering the DA, that is the output. Is the leaders are generally asking the political system to generate the output. When a secretary of a chamber of commerce appeals for the reduction of deals and expenses in obtaining of the industrial licenses, he is asking the government to generate the output of the uh, output. Now, to understand in this sense, philosophy of the input and output can be said to be an engine for driving or moving the political system. We know what inputs or things are in the political system, we will be able to characterize the operation of the of the political system. In this sense, input output analysis is like the traditional cause and effect analysis, cause and effect theory. The traditional cause and effect analysis also seeks to understand and describe the working of the political system or the politics and administration of the country in terms of the causes and effect. We are the students of political science. We know the theories of Aristotle and Socrates with related to the cause and effect theory. Aristotle tells us the inequality is the fundamental cause of revolution in various types of governments or the political system. Aristotle is the example is the Aristotle tells us inequality is a fundamental cause of revolution in the various types of government or political system. General sense, we are saying dissatisfaction is the root of revolution. How revolution came into being because of there is some dissatisfaction. Just like that, Aristotle tells us the inequality is a fundamental cause of revolution in the various types of government or political system. Plato tells us that the ignorance of the people and too much liberty in their hands lead to the choice and the anarchy. So, Plato tells us the ignorance of the people and too much liberty in their hands lead to the choice and anarchy. Socrates tells that the people and the ignorance are people and too much liberty in their hands lead to choice and anarchy. Socrates tells us that people have the opinions as different for knowledge and therefore they suffered variously. According to him, if the people say knowledge or virtue, they will automatically be virtuous. There will be no trouble. In other words, he says that the knowledge leads to the virtuous action. Montesquieu tells us, we are everybody expert in the Montesquieu theory of separation of powers. In the government leads or causes, the preservation and the protection of the people liberties. Today we are finding a great crisis in the state of Andhra Pradesh because they are not following the principle of separation of powers. Legislature and executive frequently involved in the judiciary, and legislature and executive made wrongs. Judiciary try to correct these concepts. We are the best example in Andhra Pradesh. According to Margentu, Montesquieu stated that tells us that the separation of powers are the very important. In all these examples, that there is a cause and effect. In case of other things also, like such cause and effect relationship is the present, although in every cause they may not state the relationship so clearly. This cause and effect relationship can be regarded as the adequate and the new psychology of input and output can be said to indicate more or less some cause and effect relationship. But in all other matters, essentially the value of the input and output relationship is basically similar to the value of the traditional cause and effect relationship. The second limitation we have to point out with the regard to the input-output relation, that is typically relevant or intended to relevant in the context of the systems analysis. It is natural, therefore, that the value and validity of the input-output relation may suffer to the extent to the analysis context limited or the defective. This is the sense built by the association. Finally, the validity of the input-output relationship, like the validity of the cause and an effect relationship, is always open to quest on the logical existence of a necessary relationship between the cause and effect has never been established. It has just been assumed, and practical consideration, the same thing is true regard to the relationship between the input and output. In a given political system, there is no reason to support actual practice a particular input will result in a particular output. We can't expect the input, we are sent the inputs, but we can't expect the result is different in sometimes. A Swamiji may tell his followers to vote for a candidate A, but the actual practice, in a few cases, the people may vote for candidate B. The Swamiji may tell his followers to vote for a candidate A, but in actual practice, in a few cases, the people may vote for candidate B. So here his input has not led to the output expected. You take the best example in Andhra Pradesh politics. At the election time, the women voters are actively participated. We are finding so many queues. But Chandrababu Naidu expected definitely he is win in the election. But the women voters are actively participated, but they are not franchised their vote in favor of the Telugu party. So the expected inputs are not getting in sometimes. That is the best example. A Swamiji may tell his followers to vote for a candidate A, but in actual practice, in few cases, the people may vote for candidate B. So here the input has not led to the output expected. The airlines pilot may go on strike for higher salaries, but the expected output may not be generated. The government may think that the demand and the total of the pilots are unreasonable, and the public may also think that the pilots are demanding unreasonably high salaries and those they should not sanctioned or approved, so the strike may fail. In other words, the given output may fail to generate expected output. We do not mean to say that such failures take place in every case. In some cases, we are not we are not gaining the expected output. What we mean to say that in some cases, such failures to take place when in others they do not. In other words, this input-output relationship is not invariably or universal, and to this extent it operates under a fundamental limitation. Before we discuss this concept, I want to give a small example for this theory. So, in this, before concluding this input-output theory, I would like to give a small diagram before you. Is it visible or not? Visible? So, this is the system. This is the system. We send the inputs. In economics, we found the sugar cane and some chemicals sent to the system. The output is the manufactured sugar. The economics students learn like that. In political science, we send the demands and supports to the system. We are getting the good policies and the programs. This is a brief. We in the actually this is the political science economics concept we are applying in the political science. So we are stating that we send the demands and supports to the system. The people wants the demands and people gives the support. We send the system and output is good policies and programs. In briefly, for the broad understanding point, I would like to see this uh, uh, diagram. Thank you, one and all, for this. We complete the totally three approaches and introduction of the political sociology and nature and scope of the political sociology. Totally five concepts we are discussed. Thank you, one and all.